Okay, first I appreciate Doug throwing this together for us. I thought it was important for everybody to kind of get together and shoot out the questions that we have. You know, we talked after the season of, you know, dissecting ourselves, starting with myself and doing everything we can to make sure that we move in the right direction to continually progress the young men that are in our football program on the field and off the field. And you know, so we've made some decisions. They're great decisions in my opinion. They're well thought out. And I'll start with you know, Frank and Stacy. You know, Frank and Stacy a year ago on the other side of the ball. I think they'll be the first ones to tell you they're better in their positions they are today because of what they coached last year, being on the other side of the football, being involved in the offense in that setting, in that scenario. I think it's a great opportunity for us to be able to move on. And you know, when you look at it as a whole of the defense. You look at it as a whole of the young men that are coming back within the defensive structure, and I think we're in a great spot. I know they're excited. I know that our kids are excited. And you know, the other important part of that piece is the whole defensive staff is together on this. There's not a bunch of, you know, we don't walk into a room and the room is stressed and it's all tenseful. It's all a tense situation. Excuse me. It's we're in a good place, and it's because I think we've talked it out from the very beginning and we've discussed it. And you know, obviously there's hard decisions that have to be made, but everybody's all in, I would say, and I'll let them take it from there. And you know, with Bodie, it was a long process. Anybody that knows me very well knows that you know, I usually make decisions very quickly, and I don't take a lot of time to think about hires usually. This time I thought it was very important that I did everything I could to take my time, interview for myself as far as interviewing coaches, a large number of coaches, and looking at a bigger group of coaches as we went through that process. And it became very clear that this was the guy to me, what we were looking for. Yes, success everywhere he's been. You know, he's ground himself up through the process of coaching. He's worked like crazy. He's, you know, every time he's gone, he's taken a step forward, a step forward, a step forward, and he's always progressed in a very positive way for him and his family and for his offense or his position that he was coaching, which is great to see. And you know, as we go through time, he's a grinder, and we're looking for somebody that is a great quarterback teacher, can run a room, can be the general manager of the offense, and is tough. And that's what we've got. So I'm very excited about these three guys, and I'm very excited about the staff as a whole and for our opportunities to be able to move forward. But these guys are all three great leaders, and they can manage the defensive side of the football. They can manage the offensive side of the football at a very, very high level, in my opinion, which in turn allows me to be the head coach that I need to be here at Utah State to help the kids, you know, reach their potential on and off the field. So last thing I'm going to say is I promise you this whole staff is all in on this, and we're ready for the battles that are ahead of us, and excited to get with these kids today in the indoor at 3 o'clock and have a little run.
Can you give us an idea, Coach, about how many more changes or how many more people you have to hire at this particular point, or what you're looking at there?
We have a couple of young coaches that we're going to bring in, GAs, graduate assistants, or admins that will get those young kids in here. They're not, so a couple of them aren't so young anymore, but we'll get those guys in here when we can announce them and get them rolling. One of them that we're hopeful to get in with us is DJ Talavea. Excited about having an opportunity to get DJ here. He's already been in grad school since he got done with his time in the NFL. He has been in graduate school at Utah State, so it should be a slam dunk to get him up here, and he'll work with the tight ends. You know, Bodie doesn't know him yet, but he will, and we all know DJ's past, and he's as true Aggie as there could ever be, and had some great success in the NFL, and is scheduled to have a baby on Friday, so we'll give him 2 days with the baby, and then we'll get him up here. I'm just kidding. No, we'll give him some time to be with the baby, and we'll roll from there. And then we have 1 or 2 other spots that we'll fill. And then we do have a 10th assistant spot that we're looking to get filled, and hopefully we can get that in, you know, the next couple of weeks, I would say. I think it's important. It's going to be an offensive hire, and I think it's important that you know, Bodie's in the middle of that as well as the rest of the offensive staff to, again, make sure we make the best decision for the kids.
Obviously, this is all about moving forward to the future, but if I could get you, Gary, could you reflect back now that it's been a little bit removed from the season, just how 2019 went?
You know, 2019, if I look back at it, and the first thing that look at it. I've been on the phone all morning with a bunch of people communicating about, Jordan and different people that cover different teams and what have you, and it makes me reflect on that exact same, because that's kind of what they're asking me about Jordan. And I would look at the whole team as a whole and say this was an extremely tough-minded team. 7 games went down to the last wire. They won 5 of them. Had 2 tough defeats. Happened to be the first game of the year and the last game of the year that kind of went down to the wire, and we weren't able to finish in those. But we had some great opportunities where we had to make a run. To get ourselves bowl eligible, we had to make a run to be able to stay in contention to play our last league game. We're right in it to go compete for the championship and have a chance to be able to win our side and go play in the championship game. That didn't happen. So a very tough, mentally tough team. A team that was young and a team that has to become physically more dominant to stand up week in and week out against teams that play with great physicality. And on our side, we have 2 or 3 teams, if you just look back at last year, that play with extreme physicality. And we have to be able to match that. We have a non-conference schedule every single year that's going to force us to match up to extreme physicality depending on how the schedule filters its way out. Next year, we're going to play at least one of those teams. We'll see where the schemes goes with the other teams, but they want to line up and smash you in the mouth and move on to the next game and be very physically dominant. So we have to prepare for that. It's a big push in the off season, and our kids are accepting that role very, very well right now. We put big expectations on them in the strength room, and the kids are handling that at this point. And the other thing I would say is just unbelievable relationships that you get to build every single year. And I've never had a year where I wouldn't say that, because that's the fact of the matter is that's who we are as coaches. We always talk about it. I'm going to hire guys that care about kids first. And I'm going to hire great coaches second. And so, in turn, that allows us to be able to have some very special relationships. And, there's a lot of faces that we don't get to see every day, but those are still faces that, know that we're going to be there for them, and they can reach out to us and communicate. So, lastly, I would say we're all blessed to be able to coach what was a great bunch of kids, and they battled their tails off for Aggie Nation.
What was it about Bodie that stuck out amongst some of the other candidates that you interviewed for the position?
Besides the fact, I'm not going to say it. So no, just he's grown up, and I don't know how to really even emphasize this or say this, but all 3 of these guys and really everybody on our staff has grown up fighting their tails off to get to where they are today. The way he attacked the interview and understanding that he looks at the opportunity to be the general manager of the offense as a great opportunity. And that has to do with recruiting. It has to do with daily communication with not just the quarterbacks, but with the offensive linemen, the wide receivers, and building those relationships. It has to do with being able to look at me and say, hey, listen, Coach, man, this is what we got to get today out of practice. We got to be able to do this. Building our football school, which is a huge part of our off season this year, is every Tuesday and Thursday our kids are locked in for an hour of football school, and they're learning a number of things that we may take for granted sometimes as coaches that we think that the kids know. Well, that plan's in place, and it was in place, quite frankly, when he came and sat down for the interview. So just organizational, structure, tough, consistent, has had success, great quarterback teacher, all those things. It wasn't just one glaring thing that jumped out. He's a great family man. He's got a baby in his life, and talks very proudful about his family and his wife, and so all those things.
Bodie, what appealed to you about this job?
Well, Coach Andersen and this program have a great tradition and a great history of success. And talking to people in the profession, there's not a better guy to work for. And I've had some connections on staff, guys that I knew prior, and I knew it was a great group of guys to come in and blend with. When you're outside looking in, a program like this is tough, and they work hard, and they earn every inch that they get, and that's the type of program that I want to be a part of.
What would you say, Coach Reeder, is your style, or do you have an offensive style, or does Coach Andersen tell you exactly what you have to run? Or, obviously, that's if you get
better not. That won't be good.
If you get hired for this kind of job, you have to come to him with a plan and say, "This is what I want to do."
Correct.
Tell us what your plan is.
First of all, we want to take advantage of the guys that we have in the room. We want to play to the strengths of our offense. We're going to have multiple tempos and multiple personnels, and make sure that we're getting the balls to our playmakers in space and in the correct fashion in which they need to get it. I don't believe in a book or video type of system of an offense. We're going to make sure that we're multiple, and we'll make sure that we have different schemes that can attack the defense from sideline to sideline and vertically down the field. We're going to have a couple different run schemes that we can run the ball inside in our zone schemes and outside in our zone schemes and take advantage of gap runs. So I think if you had to describe it, it'd be a multiple pace, multiple formation personnel offense.
Have you gotten the chance to look at some of the film from last season from the team and see anything that you really like out of the team?
Yeah, I have. First of all, guys played really, really hard, and that's something that we're going to keep consistent going in future. Like Coach said, is a tough-minded football team that played really well in close football games, and their energy and effort was really high, and that's going to stay the same. That really stuck out. Obviously, had great quarterback play and have really good skill players and young offensive linemen and tight ends. They're going to continue to grow and progress.
You talk about multiple different types of offenses you want to run. Is speed still the goal? Because that's been the past 2 years here, super quick, fast-moving offense. Is that still the goal, or is it kind of?
I don't think it's our number one goal. I think that we're going to have the ability to go fast, but we're going to dictate the pace of play. We're going to make sure we're playing complementary football and taking care of everyone in the locker room and making sure that we can change speeds.
If I could just add on to that too, I really believe in, he wants to go fast. If the first day they walk out, they're going to go fast, which is awesome. But he said it best in the interview to me. And just explain your basketball analogy that you gave me.
Yeah. I was an average high school basketball player, right? So if I was guarding a guy that came from the opening tip going a million miles an hour, my mind and my body sped up to his pace. But if I was going to guard a guy that was constantly changing pace, he was herky-jerky, he was going to shuffle step me, that was tough. So I think that plays in the hands of the offense if they can change the pace of the game.
Coach Maile, I want to ask, with you being a co-defensive coordinator, how important is it to still have Coach Enne in the defensive, area, helping you guys out?
I think first off, he's a hell of a coach, and he's a huge asset for us moving forward. So to have his mind, experience, and his passion for what we do in the room is huge for us to have success this year.
Let me ask Frank and Stacy, how do you think you'll handle co-coordinators? Who calls it? You go back end, you're more front end with coaching, but how do you handle that, both of you?
Well, me and Frank have had a great relationship here from the start, and obviously considered through the bowl game last year when Frank was the interim head coach, and we had a chance to work on those levels. But it's always been a collaborative effort here, and it always will be. And we have an unbelievable defensive staff. It will be a collaborative effort, not just with us, but with the whole group. Coach Enne is one of the finest linebacker coaches in America. We're fired up to have him. Coach Orfe is going to have a bigger role on the back end, and he is a rising star in this business on the back end. And extremely excited to have Bodie, coaching the B-backers, a position he played not only here, but also at the highest level in the NFL. So we'll collaborate with it. We'll put a game plan together with it. And when we hit those game days on Saturdays, there'll be a definitive plan how we're calling it, working it. But it'll always be a collaborative job with an unbelievable staff.
I guess Frank, this is for both Frank and Stacy. What changes, if any, will be made scheme-wise and base defense-wise for 2020?
It's going to look similar to what you saw in 2018. So we're going to be a multiple odd front 3-4 defense is what we're going to be running this with the ability to get into some of the even fronts and with different coverages. So Stacy, anything else to add to that?
We really want to bring the attacking style of defense back. Hard emphasis on the takeaways. We were fortunate in 2018 to lead the nation in takeaways. 3 and outs, get ourselves off the field, get the offense a chance to get back on, change those paces, put the stress on other defenses, TFLs and sacks, and then playing great red zone defense, forcing field goals down there and blocking those field goals. And that's our blueprint, and that's the blueprint we'll stay with, and with the whole overall goal of doing everything we can to help win as a full team, both offense, defense, and special teams.
One thing that we've really been able to do that enables us to become more multiple in that area is what we recruited a year ago. All those young linebackers are now growing and maturing, and you saw some of them get many opportunities, especially after Woody went down last year. You saw some young faces hop in those spots, and Frank and Stacy and the whole defensive staff will do a great job. And those linebackers have great coaching with Justin and with Bodie. They're in a tremendous spot to be able to get better as young players quickly. And like they said, it's very important, and I didn't mention it earlier, but our ability to be able to play as a team defense, team offense, team special teams is so key, and these guys know that. Our whole staff knows that, and every week that could change. It's different when you play Air Force as far as a team's concept than maybe when you play whomever the other team is. So matching the scheme is something these guys have done a great job with in a very short period of time.
Coach Andersen, you have a pretty good quarterback competition coming up here in the spring. Can you talk about that, having Henry and Andrew Peasley coming back, and what the competition might look like there?
Yeah, first of all, when we talk about the competition at any spot, it's all over this team right now, and those kids know that. They competed in the weight room this morning. Those guys are going to compete against each other, and Cooper and Josh aren't going to sit there and say, I don't want to compete either. So they're all going to have an opportunity to battle and compete in those settings. And I really think that this is, I know this is true again from interviewing Bodie as we went through it, there's an opportunity for both those first two young men right now to be a huge part of our offense. There's some unique athletic ability that we have with two of our quarterbacks, and I believe Andrew's one of them, and Cooper is the other one. They're elite athletically as far as quarterbacks goes, and I'm not taking away from Henry and Josh, but if you line them up and run them in a 40, it's going to go the other two guys' ways, whatever, right? So, and the other ones have the intangibles that are different. So, my point being that we can use both of those young men as a vicious weapon, and does the offense drastically change one way or the other? That's his staff to be able to, himself and his staff to be able to dissect and figure it out. But yes, there'll be a starting quarterback, there's no doubt. Right now Henry is there because he's got the upper hand, and we go through spring because he's had the reps and we go through those opportunities. But Andrew's not going to say, I don't want to compete. He's going to compete like crazy, and I think there's a possible niche for both of those kids because they are different. And I just look at it from a defensive standpoint. If I have to deal with, just say it's those two kids in that spot, or there's two athletic guys and two other guys that play different, it's hard for me, right? It's like playing against pace. Then all of a sudden it's a muddle huddle. Then all of a sudden it's a huddle. All of a sudden those things are very difficult for defenses to prepare for, and you're eating up practice time. That's team concept football, even on Tuesday or Wednesday of practice.
Gary Andersen, Coach, can I ask you, he was your kind of your special teams coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do with that? And the other question I have is this moved into, like, back midway through last year, you talked about kind of changing. You kind of stepped away a little bit
mm-hmm.
from the defensive line. Do you want to get more back into that in practice with this alignment, or do you want to continue to stay back in your coaching of the Aggies?
I want to stay back and be the general manager of the football team and make sure that I'm in the proper place for these guys and the rest of the staff, make sure I'm in the proper place to the best of my knowledge for every kid on the football team, and really in my proper place and where I need to be for Aggie Nation as a whole. I mean, I'm passionate about it. This is everything that other than the grandkids and my kids, this is the next thing for me right here. And so I wake up every day with that just unbelievable passion to drive down that hill and get to work. And I know this is the right positioning for myself and for this staff as a whole. And these guys are going to be those general managers. They'll handle it. They'll handle it the offense. They'll handle it the defense, and we'll work hard together. From a special teams, from a general management standpoint, we'll see. It's right now. If we said how is it going to be today, we haven't hired that 10th coach yet, so I can't completely dissect that. But we will have somebody that is in charge of the special teams. And when I say that, I really mean the specialists. The specialists need a coach. They need somebody that they can go to. You can't just, they practice different. Their timing is different. Stacy was unbelievable at that stuff. So Stacy will educate somebody because he knows a heck of a lot more about that than I do, and we'll get the right education to get the specialist into the right spot and let them become truly the best they can be at their positions. And then the special teams as a whole, right now, we'll break it up. And we've had a lot of great success over the years where I've been as doing it as a whole and also breaking it up. But I think there's some real positives to having a coach have a kickoff team, a coach have a kickoff return team, and so on and so forth, but yet still have somebody that's a general manager of the special teams, and that's where I'm leaning to right now.